This is your Under Southern Screens spoiler warning. If you have not seen 1906's The Story of the Kelly Gang, or the story of Ned Kelly for that matter, we're going to be spoiling the plot rotten. But if you don't care about the plot being spoiled for this 120-year-old film, enjoy the premiere episode of Under Southern Screens.
I am not right.
You're terrible, Muriel.
Talk to me.
You gonna do that pogo?
You ain't talking to the cop. Today is a brand new day.
No, that's it. It's the vibe.
G'day, fellow Aussie film lovers, and welcome to the premiere episode of Under Southern Screens, the most official Australian cinema podcast, as voted by us, your hosts. I'm Mitch.
And I'm Matthew, and yes, we are here, and it is, it's so crazy that we're finally getting to do this. This is insane.
This has been in the works for months.
Months? Literally months, bro.
Widowy
I'm
months.
so excited. Yeah, widowy. It's widowy crazy, man. But yeah, it's so cool that we're finally getting to talk about some amazing Aussie films on this podcast because
Fantastic.
there's a few of them there, and you know, they haven't been talked about as much as we want. So here we are.
That's like the conceit of the podcast is we want to shine a bigger light on Australian film. It's pretty rad. If it's not obvious, we kind of both live there.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, I'm based in Sydney,
and I'm a Melburnian, born and raised. Don't hold it against me.
So apologies if you live in like Perth or Darwin or anything, but we're
Or
just
the
gonna
outback.
or the outback or Tasmania. But like, you know, we're just gonna consider this to be like the definitive Australian viewpoints and opinions. But hey, if you're from Perth or Darwin or Tasmania, welcome.
Hell yeah. I mean, I'm sure eventually we'll try and have some sort of way for people to contact us.
Exactly.
So
I mean, don't do it now. Don't like.
There's not
just
really a
don't
way
try and
to,
contact
as
us.
far as I'm aware. Yeah.
I'm good there. But yeah, so I absolutely love Australian cinema personally. Studied at university just because it's got such a unique sort of, not only in terms of landscapes and aesthetics, but in terms of, you know, characters, themes, and most importantly for me, humor is something that I think defines what Australian cinema is. I mean, Mitch, what do you reckon?
Yeah, I think there is a vibe that no other type of cinema can provide. I don't want to say that in like a way that, you know, I think Russian cinema has its own vibe, and it's like every single culture, you know, has its own vibe, but you know, we're Australian, and I want us to highlight our home turf's exports, cinematic
exactly,
exports.
Of course, man. And it's not even just a sense of patriotism. Like, I genuinely think that there are a ton of cinematic gems that have come out of this country. I mean, even the film we're going to be talking about today, the story of the Kelly Gang, it is a landmark film in general, not just
huge.
Australian film.
It's huge,
you
for
know?
history, like cinematic history.
Yeah, that's why we're here talking about it today, and we're so glad you're here to join us. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about 1906's The Story of the Kelly Gang, widely considered to be the first feature narrative film ever released. What do you think about that? That's crazy, isn't it?
It's pretty nuts. Sorry, I didn't find out recently, but I found, and that like when we started talking about doing this, I found out a little bit before we were going to do the podcast that was the case, that this film was considered the first kind of feature length film and
ever
yeah, in the history of cinema and / the world, it is considered the first ever feature length film. And I didn't know Australia did that. I assumed it must have been in France,
yeah,
England
the
or something.
Brothers,
Exactly,
taking over the scene. But no, it is one Charles Tate of the Tate family that introduced long form cinema to Australia and the world, which is insane. And I mean, it is the first in a long litany of films based on Ned Kelly that have come out of this country. It is it's kind of crazy how much we're fascinated on this bearded dude.
It's probably our most interesting historical event only in the fact, like, so we have a lot of interesting history here, absolutely, but only in the fact that it doesn't involve us highlighting a whole group of people that we genocided, so we can kind of like ignore the First Nations people with this story, where kind of any other really interesting Australian history does kind of force the non indigenous people to kind of be like, yeah, we kind of did a lot of bad things. And
yeah, we'll talk about them throughout this podcast.
Oh,
but there
absolutely.
are some fantastic indigenous films.
There absolutely
Samson
is.
and Delilah, Mystery Road. we'll get there 100%.
Absolutely.
But yeah, it is weird that Ned Kelly in particular has been the figurehead.
Well, it's Robin
starting off
Hood.
here, yeah.
It's Robin Hood,
it is,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is weird, man. I don't know.
It's so curious as well. And I think what's interesting is I actually haven't seen a lot of Australian film. I'm kind of a piece of crap in that sense.
Yes, Mitch, you suck.
Me
at this
personally,
Australian film podcast.
in like a moral level, suck because I haven't seen that much Australian film. But hopefully, this podcast will, it's going to broaden my horizons, my southern horizons. That is, what I'm saying?
That's it. It's all on brand here for this podcast, and yeah, I'm just really looking forward to taking that journey with you, Mitch.
Definitely, in a cultural sense, Ned Kelly's kind of a polarizing figure because some people will go, he's a thug, he's a murderer, and other people go, he's a Robin Hood, he's a
bushranger,
a bushranger, yeah, and. Yeah, I guess that would be something I think will be interesting because I'm sure we're going to want to touch on other Ned Kelly films over the course of this podcast.
Oh, yeah, 100%.
Maybe even next week we'll touch on who's to say? We haven't figured out what next week's
Ned Kellyathon in the first 5 episodes. But I mean, yeah, everyone from like Heath Ledger to Mick Jagger has portrayed Ned Kelly throughout.
And also the guy from Pride, whose name I don't remember.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, in the true history of the Kelly gang.
Yeah,
that's the biggest thing that I like. So. The film we're talking about today is the story of the Kelly Gang. But then in 2019, they made a film called The True History of the Kelly Gang. And from then on out, all naming conventions between the two, I just get them mixed up. It's a shame. So if either me or Mitch says the wrong name throughout this video, sorry, not sorry. Should we get into the summary for the story of the Kelly Gang?
We should absolutely get into it.
Awesome. Our first film for Under Southern Screens takes us back to 1906. In an age where it was an achievement to not die at 35, Australia had its own prototype wannabe film bros in the form of Charles Tate and the Tate family. Spurred on by popular bushranging stage plays at the time, the Tate family capitalized on the burgeoning silent film boom to create The Story of the Kelly Gang, widely considered to be the first feature-length narrative film in the world. While only around half an hour of the film exists today, you're pretty much able to get the gist as most of the surviving fragments of the film are available conveniently in the National Film and Sound Archive and available on ABC iView, which is where I watch the film. And more conveniently, the bits that are available are the more interesting moments of the film, most notably being the last stand of Ned Kelly, played by Frank Mills. The film was shot around Heidelberg, St Kilda, Eltham and Greensboro and sold out Melbourne's Athenaeum Hall for 5 weeks straight upon its release on Boxing Day 1906, thus generating a cash cow for the Tate family, particularly because they owned the cinema itself. Monopolization of production and distribution by the mega rich, now that's the modern film industry that I know and love.
Woo!
That's it.
Got it out flawless.
Yeah, man. Yeah, no multi takes there. First episode blues. Here we go. I mean, Mitch, you would think that there wouldn't be a lot to talk about with this film, just given how fragmented it is in this modern context.
Well, yeah, I think what I find really interesting, first of all, is this is obviously a movie that's really sympathetic towards the Kelly gang in the way it'll be like the final stand of Ned Kelly, and then it's like, and then it goes, the dickhead cops who shoot at birds also that's the reason. Yeah. And it's interesting that that's the stance that was taken, and I don't know, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, look, it is interesting. I think it is very typical of like the bushranging plays of the time. Like I mean, if you look at the Western aspect of it, it is romanticizing the break freeze of conformity of the time, the sort of the anything goes nature of it. I mean, the thing you got to think about in this era is that, like, at the time of the film's release, Ned Kelly's brothers and mother were still alive. They were still alive to see this film be released. So it's like, I guess maybe there is an element of bias there, and I mean, it is folklore essentially, which is fascinating.
What I found more interesting, the story itself, I found it's kind of whatever.
Things just happen. Yeah,
things just kind of happen, and then they don't bother the coverage. Obviously, like obviously everything
Yeah.
I'm saying is covered by the fact that it's a product of its time. It's the first.
Yes,
it's the first
over
ever.
120 years ago.
It's the
Yeah.
first ever feature length film. Stuff just is not going to stand up to modern scrutiny, and even because they mentioned that certain titles are covering scenes that have been lost to time.
Oh,
So
yeah,
if
absolutely.
if anyone's watched it, the italicized version is any italicized heading is something that's been lost, and
Yeah,
then
it's a
any
context filler. Yeah.
exactly, and then any block writing is what was with the original film. And so
Yeah.
even when you take out all the italicized ones, how much block writing in there is just them being like, yeah, these guys got shot. And then this happened.
And then this happened.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it is. Well, from what I'm able to research on this film, how it was conceived of is it was shot as 6 individual segments. Like 6 individual silent film, essentially, pretty much moments. And then they had the idea of, oh, why don't we piece this together into one
Yeah.
mega movie to maximize profit?
One
That's
saga.
how it goes. So people come in and see 6 silent films back to back to back, as opposed to coming back, over a span, and possibly reducing revenue. So it is a pretty innovative style, and yeah, in the way it's shot, it is definitely very theatrical in nature. All considered wide shots.
Yes.
The
The camera doesn't move at all. Basically,
there's no movement. Although there is a really, I don't know if you picked up on this, but there was a great moment at the very, very beginning where it is a wide shot. But then when Kate, who's one of the only female characters in
one of two.
the movie, one of 2 female characters in the movie, she pulls a gun out on an officer, and then it hard cuts to a mid shot.
Yeah,
which at that time it was like, whoa, that would have been, that would have been the high ticket. That's what you would have bought a ticket for to see back in the day.
That's the Mission Impossible climbing the Burj Khalifa of 1906.
That is, yeah. Tom Cruise, he's like that. That's my inspiration. I don't know. So there are innovative elements to this.
Absolutely,
do you know what I mean? Most notably, I think towards like the end of the film when the Glenrowan pub gets caught on fire, and they change the tint of the film.
Yeah, it's just a filter.
It's just a red filter. But I mean, like, it's
coupled with
fantastic.
like the heading saying the hotel's on fire, and then it just cuts to the
Just
same
in
shot
case
that
you
you
didn't
saw
know.
before, but it's red, and there's some
amazing.
smoke coming. I think what I find the most funny is when the priest was walking in, and clearly, I guess some of the extras were just a little bit like jumpy, so they just kept shooting their blanks at
They
him
just
as
didn't
he
know
was
what to
walking
do.
in. Yeah, they're like, well,
Yeah.
how do we do now? Just keep firing, I guess.
Just do it. Yeah, there are a few sort of like bloopers in there. I don't know. When the hold up at the bank happens, I don't know if you saw, but like the extras open up the door of the bank too early, and then they close it again. Like they must have like preempted a queue too early or something.
And it's too expensive to retake. Like that's films so much money.
Yeah, film stock, man. The Tate family, they're rich, but they're not that rich, man. They got to get this thing out the door.
Well, they haven't released their giant mega film yet, the saga.
Exactly. Well, and that's the thing we got to think about too is like the book wasn't written yet on all of these techniques, and they've expressed that like in retrospect, the Tate family. It's like they were just sort of going as they went along. It was literally like, you and your friends at 8 years old making a movie on an iPhone. That's how they made this film. It's fantastic.
It's really fun to think about. I reckon it'd been so fun to be on that set. Just bunch of dudes get in cowboy dress up, running around with fake guns, pointing
Just
them at each
going
other,
nuts
and then
with it,
just
man.
shooting each other, and then I reckon that'd been really fun.
I doubt there was a Vic Screen talent placement opportunity for this production, though.
I doubt it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, but that's okay. So there's a child murder in this movie. A child gets murdered
Murked.
in this film from 1906. Just straight up. That is, it's very interesting, and an interesting aspect of this thing. I guess maybe theatrical productions of the time were pretty like lax, and I guess they could just follow suit on film.
Well, the censors weren't in place yet or anything. Well,
that's it, right? And I guess like at the time, it's just like, what was film? Do you know what I mean? It's like, it's the Lumiere brothers' first films. Obviously, they were from a decade prior, but they were literally just capturing life. Do you know what I mean? So narrative based shorts. And I mean, the Great Train Robbery is a great comparison piece
Oh,
to Ned
absolutely.
Kelly. I
Yeah.
think, but yeah, it's interesting to see such sort of brashness and sort of bluntness to the way this story is told.
Yeah, it's got like this raw energy to it that I guess film you just couldn't do it nowadays because like well, I guess you could, but just why would you?
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah,
mean?
exactly. It's like, do we need to see an elongated bank robbery that goes on for maybe like 10 minutes
I think
in a
it
single shot?
it has the exact same thing of like a lot of old films, like, and I'm talking really old films where they just
Yeah.
don't cut anything. It's all there's the part where they rob. Is it the station? Or, it looks like a church, but it's like the station or whatever.
Yeah.
And there's the part where the guy's hawking van rocks up, and they don't just cut to him being robbed though. You watch him back up and then screw his back up and then reset and then do his back up again.
It's humbling. It's humbling to see, that's for sure.
Absolutely. Did you enjoy watching it?
Look, I think for me, the thing that I found the most enjoyable about it was just the commendable efforts of the Film and Sound Archive for piecing it all together.
Yeah.
That was the main thing. It's because, I mean, obviously in my dopamine riddled sort of short form attention span mind, it's like you got to pay attention for half an hour of just unmoving, static, elongated shots, and that is something that is an adjustment. But yeah, I mainly focused on, because they drew on so many different like sources for how to piece this together.
Like secondary sources. They mentioned a lot of newspaper clippings, a lot of cartoons, the program. Yep, exactly.
Yeah, exactly. And then the poster as well. Like, so it's like the fact that they were, and also like the fact that they were able to find this footage in general is like, honestly, it shouldn't have happened. Do you know what I mean? Like, I believe that the restoration efforts first started in the 70s, I think, which is still like, that is 70 years after the film premiered, so it's insane. I believe that some film reels were found at like garbage tips and stuff, and then they were able to like piece it all together into something that's relatively cohesive. It
vaguely
a great effort.
Works.
And the fact that the restoration only came out in 2006, so that's 100 years.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Isn't that crazy that it's? I was just thinking, because at the bottom of each title, the inserted one at least from the archive, it says the archive's name and then 2006, and you just go, damn, it's crazy that they. Do you reckon they timed it? They finished it maybe 3 years earlier or something, and then they're like, let's hold on to it for another 3 years and do it for the 100th anniversary.
So that's the thing I was thinking of. It's like, because the Heath Ledger Ned Kelly came out in 2003, so that it could have been like a Richard Donner situation.
Couldn't they have waited another 3 years as well? That's crazy.
It could have been the year of Ned Kelly, man. That would have been insane.
I think what's even crazier is that when this film was made, I think Australia had been a country for 5 years. Or something.
That's true. Yeah, first federated in 1901. That's right.
Yeah. So it's just like, damn, what a bunch of go-getters. And then
what a bunch of innovators, man.
Yeah,
this is the country that made Wi-Fi and the Ned Kelly movie.
Yeah. Or then 10 years after this, where we're anzacking it up in World War One,
that's it. Mate, the country just doesn't stop.
We can't stop addicted to a shindig.
That's it. That's
I have to admit that I got to about 21 minutes in, and I had to take a break. I had to walk off. I listened to the Pacific Rim soundtrack 5 times in a row to just
that's true.
Amp myself up to go back and sit back down and go, all right, let's watch this ending. Because I was finding my hand kept, as you mentioned, the short form attention span. My hand kept drifting towards my phone. I had to no, stop, no, watch the bloody film.
For me, it was just checking how long I had left on the ABC iView timeline. I was just like, and it would only be like 5 minutes. But look, I think that was going to be the case regardless. I think the one thing that I think would have improved the experience is just having any sort of audio whatsoever.
Just some music or
in the
something.
restoration,
Yeah.
just something, because that's what they do with, like, you know, like the Great Train Robbery and a bunch of the other silent films from this era. Is they, you know, they have stand-in music, or even some have recreated music from that time that were played. I mean, it just would have helped the flow of it. Just watching silent images, you know, for half an hour, I don't know, it takes a little bit of commitment. You know what I mean?
It makes you realize how obviously we're never going to feel the immense change that it was, but it just kind of makes you realize how amazing sound being added to film must have been at the time.
100%.
Because
yeah, exactly. The talkies.
Yeah, we're gonna go to the talkies, brother.
They talk it up.
Dude, they don't stop either. Film be talking, you know what I'm saying?
The film does talk from 1927 onwards. I will say that despite it being like a sort of, you know, a very sort of static affair and a very long affair, I think that the final 10 minutes where like stuff kicks off is still like, it is still quite engaging, from the fire at the hotel, the Glen Rowan Hotel, all the way to Ned Kelly's last stand. I was locked in for that.
Ned Kelly's last stand was kind of goated.
Yeah, even today,
it's definitely the most exciting part of the whole film, and they definitely knew that as well, because as far as I'm aware, unless I'm stupid and I'm forgetting something, that's the first time you see him in the armor.
Yeah, absolutely. At least from the moments that we've seen.
Yeah, at least from what we can see. And so the fact, and there was a point where I went, are we just not going to see him in the armor? This is nuts, right? And then it's like his last stand. It's like, oh, it'll be in his last stand, surely. Yeah.
It's like this was their end game moment, dude. This is like they were going nuts.
They had their Burj Khalifa moment and their end game moment in one film. No wonder why there's gangbusters.
Exactly. The Tate family. They knew how to bring the sauce, as the kids say. That's bring the kino. Exactly right. Yeah. But I mean, yeah. Even look, I think the last stand. It's the most climactic point of the film. It's the most cinematic. It's been degraded to hell.
Oh, the bubble over it, dude, is insane.
Oh my, yeah, it does damn. But I think look, in my pretentious film bro way, doesn't it add a bit of character? The film degradation. I don't know.
It definitely made me sit up and go. It was more interesting, I think, the fact that because it gave it history and it gave it character that. It has character, but there's just an extra level to its character that just wasn't there, because before then the footage seems to be pretty well preserved. It's the kind of the back half where things start to go a bit hazy. I did find it funny that they included a section, I think it was someone dying or someone getting shot or something, where it's in the hotel at the end.
Yep.
And the card pops up and it says the death of someone, and then it's a the death of Joe, and it's like a minute of just blurry footage that you can't see anything, and then it goes, the brave priest runs in. I was like, what the I didn't see anything.
Just for context, that is the child murder I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. No wonder why I didn't really know what was going on.
It was a child. He gets capped, and then just like hard cut to the title card, "Death of Joe." It actually kind of floored me a little bit. I did a double take. I'm like, well, this is amazing. And then and then the film goes all like, it just gets,
you don't see any of it, and it's like self-censored, but not deliberately. It's very funny.
Yeah, but you know, I don't know. It just tells a second story. Do you know what I mean?
It does.
Story of the journey of this film, all the way from its premiering. The other thing that I found interesting from doing some research is that there are conflicting reports as to the ending of the film. So obviously they screened it in 1906, Boxing Day. It went gangbusters. But then apparently they rescreened it in 1910, and the ending was different.
Wow.
So did they patch their movie? Do you know what I mean? Like that. What an innovative because the rule book hadn't been written yet, so you could feasibly,
you can just change the end if you want to.
Go back and change the ending of your movie, which I think is absolutely fascinating. You know, as a thing,
is so funny. George Lucas wishes. He wishes.
He's like Exhibit A, the story of the Kelly Gang. Everyone's giving him shit for his decision making on. I really want
to change my movie. I want to change my movie.
Cut to 1906. I really want to change change my movie. It's just the Tate family being like, it's
Dude.
just like the ripples through time.
Remember when George Lucas said it's like poetry, it rhymes or
Rhymes.
whatever?
Oh my god. It literally does.
It
dude.
literally does, dude.
That's insane. I think while you might think there's not like a ton to discuss on this film, like whatever way you stitch it or whatever, it is a landmark of cinema, of world cinema, much less Australian cinema. I think, the amount of experimentation on display in terms of filmic techniques, in terms of just the scope of it as well, the fire at the hotel, the last stand, like it is inherently cinematic. Do you know what I mean? And for me, while it wasn't obviously it is primitive in the way it's constructed, it is still an engaging watch to me all these years later.
Absolutely. Look, I maybe needed to have a bit of a break, but it's not the worst thing I've watched, that's for sure. I've seen much worse film, and that's saying a lot, I think.
Exactly. For a film that is literally 120 years old this year.
It is the oldest film I've ever watched, I reckon. No, I've seen some of those shorts that we talked about before. So it's the oldest feature-length film I've ever watched.
Hey, there you go. Able to slam that one in there.
Yes.
And one thing we wanted to do for Under Southern Screens as a podcast for each film that we do each week is we wanted to list the most Australian thing about this film, just to add that little patriotic nugget into the end there. So so obviously the person who picks the movie each week will list off the most Australian thing about this film. And for me, the most Australian thing about the story of the Kelly Gang from 1906 is the fact that the only surviving fragments of the first Australian feature film is a fight at a country pub in Glenrowan. Boom. There you go.
That's good.
How Australian is that?
I was very Australian. What I was thinking the most Australian thing was a guy being dragged away by coppers at the end of the movie it looked kind of very similar to what is the charge?
Yes, that's true.
Having a meal,
precursor to the succulent
Chinese meal. It looked kind of exactly like that.
So really, it's just a ripple of Australian and film history, isn't it? This film, it's just like, it's like how The Simpsons predicts the future. It's like, the story of the Kelly Gang precursors everything and anything.
All Australian media.
Yeah, every media watch, the 7:30 report, all coming down to it. Lego Masters,
the project,
the project,
the block,
and that's it. And also movies as well. Some amazing Australian movies.
Whatever.
Here and there. Yeah. But I think I think we'll get to a few more of those Australian movies as we go through this.
I would hope so.
This cinematic voyage, this cinematic odyssey, as they say. I mean, Mitch, any final thoughts on this film?
It's really interesting as a piece of film history,
for sure.
I think only watch it if you're like really into like film history, though.
Yeah. If you're okay with sitting in complete silence for half an hour,
or 20 minutes and then a break of Pacific Rim music and then back to then the last 10 minutes.
The only way you can watch the story of the Kelly Gang from
it's honestly
1906.
Dude, the Pacific Rim soundtrack is so good, dude. Have you heard it? Do you
I
recall?
I have not heard the Pacific Rim soundtrack, but you know what? The next time I watch the story of the Kelly Gang, I will follow your viewing guide, your viewing method.
Just the main theme. You don't need to listen to the whole like album.
Okay, all right. Okay, cool. Thank you so much for listening, you guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys.
Our premiere episode. We'll be back next week to review a more contemporary Australian film. What that is, you're just gonna have to come back and find out, because quite frankly, we haven't decided that yet.
Yeah.
But I mean, thank you. Yeah, thank you for listening.
Think going forward, we'll surely have like a bit more of an idea, so we can give you more of a warning. But right now, we kind of were just like, let's do this now. Let's meet this.
Let's just figure this out and we'll get it going. But look, I've had fun.
I've enjoyed myself too.
So I think we'll be back for more in the near future. So stay posted for that. Anyway, thank you very much for listening.
Keep watching them southern screens. I hated that. Cut that out.
No, that was so good. That was really good. That was really good.
And keep an eye on those southern screens.
Thanks for listening to the premiere episode of Under Southern Screens. We'll be back next week to watch more films down under. We just want to attribute that our opening title is Heavy Duty by Zoo, and our closing title is Heavyweight by Fell Creek. Thanks so much for listening, and Mitch and I will see you in the next episode. See you next time. Under Southern Screens would like to acknowledge the stolen lands on which this podcast is recorded and produced, and pay tribute to the Wurundjeri and Woiwurrung people of the Kulin Nation and Camaragal people of the Eora Nation.
Sovereignty was never ceded, and we pay respect to all Indigenous elders past, present, and emerging. Always was, always will be Aboriginal land.